Here it is, the Fenix PD36R. This is my first Fenix flashlight. I have been seeing and hearing and reading that this is pretty much the PD35 all souped up with a big 21700 battery in it. Major upgrade. That's what a lot of people are saying, and I went ahead and I went with it. So major upgrade is going to be the 21700 battery in it. Let's go ahead and show you all that. It comes with this battery, 5,000 milliamp hours. That's really good. That's a lot more power than you're going to get out of a smaller battery like the 18650. So that's their battery. They've designed this to work in this light. It says in the instruction manual, use caution using any other 21700. Honestly, I'm just going to use this one. I feel like that's the safest route. You have a smooth reflector. You have an SST40 LED in there. You got a side button. Little light comes on in there indicating how much battery you have, your battery level. Red, orange, green. Red is dead, orange is mid-power, green is fully charged. We have a nice little side door here for a charging port. Notice how that's flush. You do have a little bit of a piece of rubber sticking up right there, so that way you can grab a hold of that little port cover. And it's not been hanging up on anything, and notice I'm pulling on it and it's not opening up, which is good. You don't want it opening when you don't need it to. Type-C charging, charged up pretty fast. I put it on the charger the very first time when I originally received it, and it was done in 2 hours. Not really sure if it was completely dead. You have a two-way clip. Pretty cool. Been using that, sliding it down in the pocket. Only this much sticking out of the pocket is pretty nice. Easy to grab up and activate the switch. And then I'm rolling up here with a pinky to adjust the power level. You have a momentary on or full click for all the way on the tail cap. And then I don't know if you saw it or not. Let's turn it off and show you. See that green light? That's letting you know that it's fully charged. While I'm here, let me show you something that I noticed last night. If you do the momentary and just a little bit, I mean, you got to go really slow with it. Every now and then I can get it to where the UI must think that it's getting a dead battery warning, because you're only giving it just a little bit of juice. And I may not even get it to do it now. It only happened a couple times. I was doing the momentary and I was just going just partially. There it goes. It thinks it has a dead battery because you're not pressing it fully. You got to go ahead and get after it to the point of almost clicking it on. If you do just a little bit, it'll think that it has a dead battery and it'll give you a red flash warning. Is what it is. Just the thing that I've noticed about it that is an interesting attribute that you do need to know about. For power levels, the low isn't quite low enough in my opinion. It's going to be at 30 lumen, and then you can throttle up from there. It has 5 modes. There's turbo, that's 1600. It's pretty warm on my hand right now. And then back down to the lowest setting, which is 30 lumen. In the house, getting things together, getting out the door, it's pretty bright. I would have rathered them put that level right there at about 5 lumen. I feel like that would have been a whole lot better, and that's usually my preference. Just my opinion, just passing that on. But then up here at 800 lumen, I want y'all to remember that this has been tested, and they're saying that it can run at that level right there for 5 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. Almost 6 hours. That's really impressive. Not a bad deal. And then there's turbo. It'll turn itself down once it gets too hot, drop down to 800 lumen. It's a good feeling light. I want to show some things here and show you the way they've fashioned this and milled it. Gives you some traction, gives you some texture right there. They have done some stuff back here that looks pretty cool, and it also gives you some traction. Like I said earlier, when you're grabbing this part up out of your pocket, you have something to hold on to and give you some traction. Just a well-made light. I want to compare it to some other stuff. I want you to consider this lineup I've got. Powered by a 21700, 21700, and 18650. You're probably thinking, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he bringing a 4000 lumen flashlight out to compare to a 1600 lumen flashlight? Well, let's talk about that. First of all, this is the Claris XT21X. This flashlight is a 4000 lumen flashlight, like I said, but consider it gets hot, it's going to drop down. In my test, I found that it dropped down in 2 minutes to the next level is 1200 lumen. And then in my test, I found that it dropped down again to 400 lumen in 6 minutes. It took 6 minutes to do the next drop. Then once it's in 400 lumen, it can go ahead and roll through a guesstimated, or what they are saying, 6.5 hours at 400 lumen, which is good. Remember that. Remember 400 lumen. And now let's take a look at this PD36R again. It's going to start out at 1600 lumen. It's going to get too hot and drop down at an unknown time. I'll test it. I'll get back to you and I'll let you know. The next level that it's going to drop down to is 800 lumen. Once it drops down to that 800 lumens, it's done. It's ready to go. It doesn't have to drop down anymore. It's going to be able to maintain an efficient running and not get too hot, and it is going to operate at 800 lumen for what they are saying, like I said earlier, 5 hours and 45 minutes. That is pretty awesome in my opinion, because what we just said over here with this one, with this flashlight by Claris, is it is going to run at 400 lumen for 6 hours and some change. This is going to be 800 lumen for almost 6 hours. That's pretty good. I like it. We're doubling our lumen for about the same amount of time. I'm going to get all three of these out tonight and just give you an idea. That's the Orcatorch T20. That's 1000 lumen. We'll look at all three of these and y'all let me know what you think. Like I always do, I want to start y'all out in the lowest setting. There's the Fenix. Lot of light. Whole lot of light for a low setting. I've added one more light to the mix. Here's the Olight M2R Warrior. I'm liking that a lot more. That's going to be more so of a low power setting. And then here's the Claris. And that's pretty bright, but still better than the Fenix. And then the Orcatorch T20. Far left is the Fenix and quite a bit more light. The Olight wins in the lowest settings. Little race here that we had going. That's the second from the left. We're going to work our way from the far right now. This is the Orcatorch T20 on its highest setting. That big giant pile of trees that I've piled up right there is 70 feet away. We're going to hit those up on all these comparisons. That's 70 feet. Now here's the Claris. You can see a whole lot more not only are you seeing the giant pile of trees, but also the fire pit and the swing set. Quite a bit more flood than just a tight beam. Here's the M2R Warrior. Different level of tint than those other two. This is going to be a little bit leaning more toward the neutral side of things, whereas those last two were a cooler color. And then last but not least, the Fenix PD36R. Nice combination, in my opinion, of a flood and throw, because it's really lighting up the pile of trees that we've been aiming toward, but also throwing off decent flood off to the sides for walking a trail or anything like that. Lighten up the entire yard. Things that you need to do, you know. Alright, here's one more thing I want to do. Here is the Claris XT21X at 400 lumen. This is ultimately what it would bring you to if you were out doing an all-night type operation or doing anything for an extended period of time. It's going to get too hot on the first two levels, like I said, and bring you to this. Now it'll run at this level for 6 hours and 30 minutes. That's 400 lumen. And then here is 800 lumen. That's the Fenix. That's what it's going to bring you to. It's going to bring you to 800 lumen because it got too hot on that first 1600 lumen, the turbo. So it's brought you down to this, and now you can go on this right here for a claimed 5 hours and 45 minutes. That is double the light, and I like that a whole lot. Knowing that I can get out with this thing and have that right there, 800 lumen, for almost 6 hours is pretty awesome in my opinion. Alright, appreciate y'all watching. Let me know what you think. We'll see you next time.